brothers running around here talking about they deserve a tithe according to Aaron. Well, everybody ain't descended from Aaron.
Come on now.
Everybody wasn't the one sacrificing animals. You might have been a Levite sweeping.
Come on.
So let's get into this. We want to talk about linen and wool.
All right.
Talk about linen and wool. You know, depending on who you learn from, some of y'all may be in violation right now. Who you learn from. Again, depending on who you learn from.
Yeah.
But what the Bible says. What the Bible says. You know, when we're going to get into this particular passage, we're talking about Deuteronomy chapter 22, and we're going to talk about Leviticus 19. Right. Now, Deuteronomy 22 is often dealing with the Commonwealth of Israel when you're dealing with Deuteronomy, because in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, it speaks to Israel. It declares, Moses is declaring, speak to the children of Israel, right? So we know in Leviticus, is generally not talking about Commonwealth of Israel, because Leviticus is named after what tribe? Which means who descend from Levi? Is every priest in the tribe of Levi attached to Aaron? All right, you want to check? You want to check? Sometimes in Levi, in the book of Leviticus, sometimes in Numbers, or which is still Leviticus, it'll say it'll talk about Aaron's descendants, right? Oftentimes, many of them are revered as a high priest. Often, every Levite didn't receive the same level of tithe that somebody that was a high priest received directly from Aaron. So all these brothers running around here talking about they deserve a tithe according to Aaron. Well, everybody ain't descended from Aaron.
Come on now.
Everybody wasn't the one sacrificing animals. You might have been a Levite sweeping.
Come on.
In the temple. But everybody want to act like they're a Levite that sacrifice. I'm saying I'm squeamish. I'm saying right now, I'm squeamish. I already know. I would have been the sweep of Levite. I can't stand none of that blood stuff. Y'all know me. I've been that thing sweeping good too. I might have cracked the door a little bit now. A little bit, but that's about it. I've been you need the fire burning, I'll make sure the fire stay lit. But we have to get an understanding of when we read the book, or what the book is saying to us. The issue is this. The reason why many of us, when we come into the truth, the reason why we fail to get the understanding about the spirit behind the law, because what we do is when we come into this, we get rid of the spirit. We get rid of the spirit. And then we sit down and we read, and when we read it as is. Not understanding that your forefathers did the same thing. Read it as is, interpret it as is, not understanding the ruach behind the law. Remember, this word was given by spirit. So if it's given by spirit, it's coming from spirit. Which means your interpretation and reception of it have to be by spirit. Right? Linen and wool. So let's get into this real quick. Let's look here. I'm going to John, 1 John chapter number 1, and I'm going to read you this. 1 John chapter 1 in the NLT says, we know we love Yah's children if we love Yah. Not just love him, but also obey his commandments, right? Loving Yah means keeping his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome. Right? Verse number 4. For every child of Yah defeats this evil world, and we archive this victory through keep the commandments because you love him, but you can't overcome the world without faith. See, we try to overcome the world without believing in the one who created the world. Right? Deuteronomy chapter number 30. Now listen to the mind of what we read in 1 John. This is the mind. Remember, there was no New Testament during the time that John and the apostles and everybody was walking. There was no New Testament during the time of Yeshua. None of that, right? Deuteronomy 30, chapter number 9, in chapter 30, verse number 9 says, Then the Elohim of Yah, your God, shall make you abundantly prosperous in everything that you do. I mean, everything that you do. Not just something, every single thing that you do. In the offspring of your body, and in the offspring of your cattle, and in the produce of your land. So not only am I going to prosper you in your body, but everything that's attached to you. Your flock shall prosper. Not only your flock, but even the grass, even the fruit, the produce, the vegetables. All these things will prosper hinged upon what you do. So guess what? The world is counting on you. Things are out of balance and out of whack is because we not in line with God. Right? So look what it says here. It says, For the Elohim will again delight over you for good, just as he delighted over your fathers. So he's trying to get you to understand, don't make the mistakes of your fathers, but also if you follow what your fathers followed, because some of our fathers were obedient, you'll prosper like them. Right. So you want to be prosperous, just go look at what the fathers who were prosperous and what they did. Here it is, verse 10. If you, because that's conditional, right? If you listen. So you got to be attentive and obey. You know, also probably we listening, but we don't obey. Or we obey, you know, and try to listen to what we want and take what we want. But it says here, if you listen to and obey the voice of the Elohim, your Yah, to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in the book of the law. Listen to this. And if you turn to the Elohim of your God with all your heart and with all your soul in your entire being, look what he says. Verse 11. For this commandment which I am commanding you today is not too difficult for you, nor is it out of reach. He said, the law that I gave you, it's not difficult. It's only difficult because you make it difficult. It's not out of reach. It's not that you can't reach it. You know, people say, especially, you know, in the day of brothers and sisters, they say, you know, the Israelite keep the commandments, things like that. You know, the first thing your Christian counterparts, family will say, you ain't keeping it, so you ain't keeping all of them. You know, what are the two things that your family gonna hit you with? What have you experienced? Oh no, wait. Why do they say that you're not keeping it? What are some of the things they come at you with that show you ain't keeping it?
There's too many of them.
There's too many. What else?
Nobody in the Bible is one.
If you fit in one, you fit in all. What's another?
Why you drive to church on Sabbath?
Why do you drive to church on the Sabbath? They got that from town. That ain't in the law. What else? They say you can't be perfect. What else?
Nobody in the Bible is able to do it.
You got something to eat?
Yeah, they would say you can't keep the dietary law because if you try to stop eating pork, the government putting pork in everything, so you eat clean all the time anyway.
He fulfilled the law. So have you heard this to the point to where they say the law, Yeshua came or Jesus came to show you. See, the purpose for the law was to show you can't keep it. That's the purpose for the law. Now, why is the Most High creating a law that you can't keep? Come on. Think about that. So he went out of his way to make sure he tripped you up.
Wow.
When we were in Egypt, we had already forgotten who he was anyway.
Come on.
So why bring us out of Egypt and trip us up?
Yeah, what sense would that make?
But right here in Deuteronomy, he's telling Israel, our forefathers, that if you be obedient to what I'm saying to you, which means this, in Deuteronomy, all of the law ain't given. He hasn't given all of the law. From the time we come out of Exodus until right now in Deuteronomy, all of the law ain't given yet. But he's telling you to keep what I gave you so far. See, the Most High in his loving way, he takes you, you know, you children, we're children. We're like babies. It's just like these little young children here. He takes us step by step, little bit by little bit. Right? Which means when we look in numbers, you don't see anywhere in Exodus where he give any law for fringes. You don't see in Exodus where he give any law for that. Why? Because he understands that we're babies. Why? It's because it wasn't until a situation happened with the man when he was working on the Shabbat, right? Doing what he wasn't supposed to, probably going to sell the sticks. And then the Most High said, well, okay, now for y'all to remember, because y'all can't remember, then we're going to give you fringes. Right? Before that, there was no law for that, which means he walked them a little bit at a time. As they went, the same way as their feet grew to their shoes, it's the same way he added to the law. And once they got to a point, then he stopped adding to it and they started adding to it. And then after that, then the Most High said, okay, I'm going to not only regress it, I'm going to regress what y'all have done, but then I'm also going to elevate it more in the law, but I'm going to do it by the Ruach now. I gave you the letter, you couldn't grasp that. It comes a time where you've gotten to a certain point, you should be able to mature enough where we don't have to go through elementary things anymore. So now he said, listen, okay, since you want to cheat, you know how Israel do. Well, he said it, you know, if I committed the act, we get slick. But I didn't commit it, you know, outside of myself. So Yeshua comes around and says, okay, you did it in your heart. So guess what? He elevates the law. He actually makes the law worse for us to keep it by our flesh by saying, if you think about it. That's worse than actually coming to act on the outside. Because now you have to govern your being. And the only way to do that, you got to have something that's strong enough to be compatible and to suppress your being. Because your flesh can't do it. That's right. Right? Amen. So he said, these commandments I give you today, they're not difficult. Same way we read in John where it says they're not burdensome. All right? Nor are they out of your reach. So let's look at this commandment about linen, water, and wool. All right? So I want y'all to understand something. In Deuteronomy chapter number 22, there are two components here. And here's another thing that we have to realize, Israel, is this. Every law that's given ain't a death penalty. Every law that's given is not a death penalty associated with it. You know, that's how we operate. We operate out of fear of keeping Torah and not operate out of the love of keeping it. So therefore, when we operate out of the fear, we scared, we go, oh, if I do this, the Most High, he gonna do this to me, he gonna hurt. And you act like the Most High sitting up there on his throne, waiting for you to break the law. So he can throw a lightning bolt down here. This is the way we function. Every commandment that's given is not associated with a death penalty. He lays it out what is. This is why he said every law that he gives, or most of the law that he gives, comes with a sacrifice. Because something has to die in its place. Right? But there are some laws that is given that you violate, you won't die.